Have you ever stopped to think that the rice sitting on your plate tonight might be quietly helping your kidneys stay healthy? Or slowly forcing them to work harder every single day without you realizing it? Most people never question it. Rice is familiar, comforting, and something millions of families across America eat almost automatically with their meals. But what many people don't realize is that the wrong type of rice eaten the wrong way can quietly add extra stress to your kidneys over time. And the frightening part is that kidney damage rarely announces itself early. There is usually no pain, no sudden warning sign, just subtle changes, feeling unusually tired, swelling in the legs, trouble concentrating or waking up more often at night. By the time many people notice something is wrong, their kidneys have already been struggling in silence for years. I'm Dr. Mark Ellis, and after decades of studying metabolic health and kidney function, I've seen how small daily food choices can either support these delicate filtration organs or slowly wear them down. The kidneys are remarkable. Every single day they filter nearly 50 gallons of blood, removing waste, balancing minerals, and keeping your body stable without you ever having to think about it. But when the foods we eat overload the body with certain minerals or metabolic stress, those tiny filters inside the kidneys have to work harder and harder just to keep up. The surprising truth is that not all rice affects the kidneys the same way. Some varieties can quietly increase the burden on your body, while others are far gentler and may actually help reduce unnecessary strain. And the difference often comes down to something most people have never been taught to look for. In today's video, I'm going to show you 3 types of rice that can fit into a kidney-friendly way of eating, helping your body maintain balance while still enjoying one of the world's most familiar foods. One of them may already be sitting in your kitchen right now, but most people cook it in a way that completely cancels out its benefits. Let's start with the rice that surprises almost everyone when they learn how it actually affects the kidneys. When people hear the words white rice, the reaction is almost automatic. Many assume it's unhealthy, overly processed, or something that should be avoided if you're trying to protect your body. But when we look specifically at kidney health, white rice tells a very different story, and in many cases it may actually be one of the gentlest grains you can place on your plate. The reason starts with what happens during the milling process. When rice is milled to become white rice, the outer bran and germ layers are removed. While this also removes some fiber, it dramatically lowers 2 minerals that struggling kidneys often have difficulty managing: potassium and phosphorus. For healthy kidneys, these minerals are filtered out of the bloodstream with little effort. But when kidney function begins to decline, even slightly excess potassium and phosphorus can start building up in the blood. Over time, that buildup forces the kidneys to work harder and harder to maintain balance. Think of your kidneys like an incredibly delicate filtration system, something similar to a high-precision water filter that runs all day every day. In fact, the average pair of kidneys filters nearly 50 gallons of blood, daily removing toxins, regulating fluids, and balancing minerals your body depends on. When the bloodstream is overloaded with certain compounds, those tiny filters inside the kidneys must work overtime. And overtime, year after year, is exactly what slowly wears them down. This is where white rice quietly becomes helpful. Because it naturally contains lower levels of potassium and phosphorus compared to many whole grains, it provides energy without adding unnecessary mineral stress to the kidneys. Instead of forcing your body to constantly process heavy loads of minerals, white rice gives your system something simple and predictable to digest. And digestion itself plays a surprisingly important role here. White rice is incredibly easy for the stomach and intestines to break down. For people who often feel bloated, sluggish, or drained after meals, heavy foods can slow digestion and steal energy from other vital processes in the body. But lighter foods like properly cooked white rice allow the digestive system to move smoothly, which means the body can redirect energy toward maintaining fluid balance and removing waste, 2 tasks your kidneys are constantly responsible for. I remember a patient named Daniel who once shared a story that stuck with me. For years, he believed he was doing everything right for his health. His diet was packed with dense whole grains, heavy fiber cereals, and large portions of complex carbohydrates that he had been told were the healthiest choice. But after nearly every meal, he felt unusually tired and uncomfortable. His stomach felt heavy and his energy would crash within an hour. When we simplified his meals, smaller portions of white rice paired with vegetables and lean protein, something interesting happened. Within a few weeks, his digestion improved. The heavy fatigue after meals faded, and he described his body as feeling lighter, as if his system was no longer struggling after every plate of food. Now, this doesn't mean white rice should dominate your plate. In fact, one of the most common mistakes people make is eating large portions of plain white rice while loading it with salty sauces or processed seasonings. Excess sodium can increase fluid retention and place additional pressure on both blood vessels and kidneys. White rice works best when it acts as a clean foundation paired with steamed vegetables, herbs, garlic, and small portions of lean protein that add nutrients without overwhelming the body. In other words, it's not just about the rice itself, it's about how the entire meal works together. And that realization surprises many people, because once they understand how the right rice can support kidney balance, they begin to see their everyday meals in a completely different way. But understanding white rice is only the first step. There's another type of rice that many nutrition experts consider even more balanced for long-term metabolic health, especially when it comes to stabilizing blood sugar and protecting the tiny blood vessels inside your kidneys. And the reason why might surprise you. Understanding white rice already changes the way many people look at their daily meals. But if we go one step further, there is another type of rice that many nutrition experts quietly consider even more balanced for long-term metabolic health, especially for people who want to protect both their blood sugar and their kidneys at the same time. That rice is Basmati. At first glance, Basmati may not seem very different from other white rice varieties. The grains are long and aromatic, and once cooked, they become light and fluffy rather than sticky or dense. But the real difference happens inside the body, and it has a lot to do with how quickly that rice turns into glucose after you eat it. You see, one of the hidden threats to kidney health isn't just minerals like potassium or phosphorus, it's unstable blood sugar. When blood sugar spikes repeatedly over the years, it begins to damage the tiny blood vessels that feed critical organs, including the kidneys. These microscopic vessels act like lifelines that deliver oxygen and nutrients to the kidney's filtration units. When they become damaged, those delicate filters struggle to do their job. This is where Basmati rice offers a surprising advantage. Compared with many other white rice varieties, Basmati tends to have a lower glycemic index, meaning it releases glucose into the bloodstream more slowly. Instead of creating a sudden surge of sugar followed by an energy crash, Basmati allows the body to absorb energy more gradually. To picture this more clearly, imagine two different fires. One burns like dry paper, fast, intense, and gone within seconds. The other burns like a steady log in a fireplace, slower, calmer, and much more stable. Foods with a high glycemic index behave like that paper fire, while lower GI foods like Basmati rice burn more like the steady log releasing energy at a pace the body can manage. Research over the past decade has shown that stabilizing blood sugar can significantly reduce the long-term risk of damage to blood vessels throughout the body. And since the kidneys contain millions of microscopic filtration units, called nephrons protecting those tiny vessels, becomes incredibly important for maintaining kidney function as we age. I once worked with a patient named Laura who was struggling with this exact issue. Her blood sugar levels were not technically diabetic, but they fluctuated constantly. She would feel energized right after meals and then crash an hour later, often reaching for sugary snacks just to feel normal again. Her diet included large portions of regular white rice, often paired with processed sauces that pushed her blood sugar even higher. When she switched to smaller portions of Basmati rice combined with steamed vegetables, olive oil, and a modest serving of fish, the difference was noticeable within weeks. Her energy levels stabilized, the afternoon crashes became less frequent, and she no longer felt that constant roller coaster of hunger and fatigue. And this highlights an important point: the rice itself is only part of the equation. Even a balanced grain like Basmati works best when it's part of a thoughtful plate. Pairing it with fiber-rich vegetables, healthy fats, and lean protein slows digestion even further and helps keep blood sugar steady. The result is a meal that feels satisfying without overwhelming the body. Now I'm curious about something. Take a moment and think about your own meals. Do you already eat Basmati rice, or is it something you've never really considered before? Let me know in the comments, because I read every one of them, and I'm always interested in hearing what foods people rely on most in their daily routine. What many viewers find surprising is that once they make this simple switch, their meals begin to feel lighter and more balanced. But Basmati rice isn't the only familiar grain that can play a supportive role in kidney-friendly eating. In fact, the third rice on this list is something millions of people already have in their kitchens right now. It's soft, comforting, and incredibly common in everyday meals. Yet very few people realize that when used correctly, it can also fit into a kidney-conscious way of eating. But knowing about basmati alone still isn't enough because there's another factor that many people completely overlook, and it may matter even more than the type of rice you choose. After learning about basmati rice and how it helps stabilize blood sugar, many people assume the best choices must always be the more specialized or exotic varieties. But the truth is, the third rice on this list is probably already sitting in millions of kitchens right now. It's familiar, comforting, and for many families, it's the rice they've eaten their entire lives. We're talking about jasmine rice. Jasmine rice is often overlooked when conversations turn to kidney-friendly foods. Some people assume that all white rice is identical, while others believe that once kidney concerns appear, rice should disappear from the plate entirely. But jasmine rice, when used the right way, can actually fit surprisingly well into a balanced approach to eating. Like other milled white rice varieties, jasmine rice has had its outer bran layer removed during processing. That means its levels of potassium and phosphorus are naturally lower than those found in whole grain rice. For kidneys that may already be working harder than normal, this difference matters more than people realize. When mineral levels in the blood rise too high, the kidneys must increase their filtration work just to keep the body balanced. Over time, constantly managing excess minerals can contribute to fatigue, fluid retention, and stress on the filtration system. But there is another reason jasmine rice remains so popular across cultures: its soft, slightly sticky texture when cooked. This texture makes it easier to chew and digest, especially for older adults or people who experience digestive discomfort after heavier meals. When food is easier to digest, the body spends less energy breaking it down and more energy maintaining internal balance. That means the kidneys can continue doing their job without being pushed beyond their natural limits. I remember speaking with an older patient named Mr. Chen, who shared something interesting about his daily routine. For decades, his meals always included jasmine rice. When he began worrying about his kidney health, he thought he needed to remove it completely. But after looking more closely at his diet, we realized the rice itself wasn't the issue. The real problem was portion size and the salty sauces he often added to his meals. When he made a few small changes, slightly smaller servings of jasmine rice, more steamed vegetables, less sodium-heavy seasoning, he found his meals were still comforting, but much easier on his body. Instead of feeling overly full or sluggish after eating, he described his meals as light but satisfying. It wasn't about eliminating the foods he loved. It was about learning how to use them more wisely. Now, one important point needs to be understood here. Unlike basmati rice, jasmine rice does tend to have a moderate to higher glycemic index, meaning it can raise blood sugar more quickly when eaten alone in large amounts. But this doesn't automatically make it harmful. The impact on blood sugar depends heavily on what else is on your plate. When jasmine rice is paired with fiber-rich vegetables, healthy fats, or lean proteins, digestion slows down significantly. This helps prevent rapid spikes in blood sugar and creates a more balanced meal overall. In other words, jasmine rice works best as part of a thoughtful combination rather than as the dominant portion of the plate. Scientists studying metabolic health have repeatedly found that balanced meals containing complex carbohydrates, fiber, and protein together can help maintain steadier glucose levels and reduce long-term stress on the body's blood vessels. And since the kidneys depend on healthy blood vessels to function properly, maintaining that balance becomes incredibly important as we age. So instead of fearing jasmine rice, the smarter approach is learning how to use it properly. Smaller portions, less sodium, and balanced ingredients can transform a familiar staple into a meal that feels both comforting and supportive for your body. And here's the surprising realization many people have at this point in the conversation. It's not always the food itself that creates the biggest problem. It's the daily habits surrounding how we prepare and combine those foods. Small changes repeated over months and years often have a much greater impact than dramatic short-term diets. But simply knowing which rice to choose still isn't the full picture, because there is another hidden factor that quietly affects kidney health every single day, and most people never think about it until it's already causing damage. Before we finish, I want you to remember something important. Your kidneys are working for you every single day, quietly filtering your blood-balancing fluids and removing toxins without asking for attention. Most people only start thinking about their kidneys when something goes wrong. But the truth is that protecting them often begins with small choices made at the dinner table every day. Choosing the right type of rice, controlling portions, reducing excess sodium, and pairing your meals with vegetables and lean protein can all make a meaningful difference over time. These simple habits may seem small, but repeated day after day, they help reduce unnecessary stress on your kidneys and support your body's natural balance. If you found this information helpful, I encourage you to save this video so you can come back to it whenever you need a reminder about these kidney-friendly food choices. And if you want to keep learning practical science-based ways to support your kidney health and overall well-being, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I regularly share simple medical insights and everyday nutrition strategies that can help you take better care of your body before problems appear. Most importantly, don't lose hope if you've recently become concerned about your kidney health. The body has an incredible ability to adapt when we begin making smarter decisions. Small improvements in daily habits, the foods you choose, the way you cook, and the balance you create in your meals can gradually support your kidneys and help you feel better from the inside out. Your health journey doesn't require perfection. It simply begins with awareness and consistent care. And starting today, you already know one more way to help your kidneys stay strong.